Are you ready for the intro? All right. I'm going.
I'm set.
Yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Hello! Welcome back to another episode of Kentucky Fried Fucks. I am your host, Gracie, joined by our two co-hosts, one of them familiarly known as Sarah. Feel free to say hello.
Hello.
And we have a newcomer to the podcast. Please welcome Mr. Paintbrush.
Hey.
So, we also have another newcomer known as Sky. We'll introduce them when they join later. They're going to be a little bit late, COVID vaccine things.
Yes.
So today's topic, we agreed on talking about, game reviews and game opinions. And we have a fine list of 10 games to discuss. We all, picked a good 2 or 3. Our first one, which we'll be talking, I'll pull over to Sarah in a second here, is Hades. So feel free to talk about that.
All right. Well, I was expecting a little bit more fair leading up to this point, but hey, this works.
Yes.
Hades is a brilliant game. You might hear me playing it in the background a bit, actually.
That's true. I did hear your Joy-Con, or sorry, not your Joy-Cons, your analogs a little bit, just like going back and forth on the controller.
But essentially what Hades is you play as Zagreus, the son of Hades, and it's all in Greek mythology, though some of it loosely. But it's really fun, and the character interactions are so great, and you get to pet Cerberus.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yes.
I remember when you first told me about that, and I was like, I want to kill him.
Oh my gosh.
And it was so funny because say a few weeks, I want to say later, few months, I finally ended up getting to like right before the final boss fight, and I thought I was going to have to fight Cerberus in order to get there. Thankfully, you don't. You just give him a sack of something, and he just disappears.
Okay, but like imagine though, you're sitting here petting Cerberus, having a good time, next thing you have to fucking fight this guy.
No, yes.
Like usually in games or just anything, you fight Cerberus, but in this, you're just petting him.
No, yeah, he's just your pet. He's adorable, and he's so great.
Damn,
but
that's lucky.
But not to mention, the voice acting is brilliant. Like, there's Poseidon, and he sounds exactly like you would expect him to, based on the photo. Like, it's...
Oh, so it's
Is not me imagining like a voice that sounds super deep and...
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
I'm not sure how he sounds.
Think of just, like, dad. Just general dad energy.
That's,
but mixed with the fun of an uncle.
That sounds like a great voice to hear.
So a dunk.
It is. Now I expect you to just animate a freaking uncle getting dunked into a freaking basketball hoop.
Honestly, I might do it. No, I'm kidding.
Wow.
But it's just such a brilliant game, and there is so much to do in it.
It's a roguelike, right?
Yes, it is a roguelike, and it is intense.
I personally know nothing about Greek mythology, so I'm probably gonna be completely out of the loop with the names and stuff. But yeah, I know nothing about Greek mythology.
Like I half-assedly know my way around Greek mythology, but very half-assedly. Like there's so much I don't know still.
That's fair. Greek mythology is a lot, and if you really deep dive into it, it gets confusing as hell.
I've considered just doing some research or just doing some looking on the stuff, but I always forget, so that doesn't help me.
Well, if you want a good place that's also like really funny to just learn about Greek mythology, look up Overly Sarcastic Productions. They're really funny. Just a pair of people doing
overly sarcastic.
I'm gonna search that on YouTube right now. I'm not gonna watch it, of course, but yeah.
their history. I tried to mix historians and history buffs in the same word and ended up getting history.
Oh,
His story. Oh my
But-
gosh.
So great. And a lot of the time when I'm playing it, I will get like severe adrenaline rushes just because of how intense it is.
I remember once you played it at my house, like when we were just doing our own thing, because you know people do that.
Yeah.
Houses, they just end up doing their own thing after a while. I remember like watching you play it, and you were like really in the zone.
No,
I
yeah.
remember, I think I was there too.
Yes, you.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah, I saw you. And then I asked you about the genre, and you're like, yeah, it's a roguelike. So that's how I remember.
if you think about it, technically speaking, it is a roguelite, but technicalities.
Okay.
Two
And
complete
the
different
difference, well, the difference is a little clear, but you have to know it to actually understand the difference.
Okay, so that's why I'm just like, bro, it's the same thing. Because
I'm so out of the loop as well. So don't worry.
Yeah.
Essentially, roguelike, there is no meta progression. Meanwhile, roguelite, there is meta progression, being progression that you get outside of a run.
Oh.
Okay.
That helped me a little bit, yeah.
Same.
I'm still dumb as shit, don't know, but like, we'll pretend I get it now.
That's fair.
Okay, so like, out of 10 though, what would you rate the game in your opinion?
Whew.
Like 1 being like, this game fucking sucks. 10 being like, yo, I'm gonna recommend this to
I
everyone
know,
because it's a good game.
I would say at the very least a 9.5.
No.
The only complaints I really have are that at times it can get extremely intense and you just have to take a break.
Yeah,
I feel like you could apply that to a lot of video games, though.
Yeah, you
honestly.
can apply that to a lot of
Yeah.
video games.
Maybe not just the intense part, but just definitely taking a break is important.
Very true.
To enjoy the rest of the game, especially the campaign, if it has a campaign,
Yeah.
And Hades does technically have a campaign, because each run you do, you're progressing towards the story, which is so good.
That's awesome.
Well, that's cool. There's like an actual story behind it. Yeah, that's kind of...
Yeah, and it's just so fun, and the character interactions are great.
I have to like look at that because I'm actually like kind of interested in it now. Like I'm kind of like...
Yeah, that's yeah, I could see it.
And not to mention, as a side note, for anybody who knows it in our community, essentially it's got ascension levels such as Slay the Spire. Essentially what ascension levels are is you can choose to make the game more difficult.
That's and
nice.
Yeah, the way it does it, it just works so well.
Well, it actually does sound kind of nice. Like you can just sit here and be like, no, we need to amp this up a bit.
Amps it up. Everyone fucking dies.
Everyone fucking dies.
But it's just like, hey, this needs to be harder, or this needs to be a bit easier. Like you can choose how difficult you want the gameplay to be, and you can like fine tune it too to figure out what exactly makes the game more difficult.
Quick question about it.
What's
if
that?
There was like one like difficulty level that you could set it as for like a first time player, what would you set it as for like, for example, the first like mission or whatever?
It starts you off at Ascension 0 and you have to get a few clears before you can up that.
Oh,
but
really? Okay.
Yeah. But each time you go through it, you're getting more used to the game. and
Mhm.
it's just such a brilliant way of doing it. Meanwhile, there's me over here with Slay the Spire, still not knowing what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah. Nice. Nice.
Nice. All right, so moving on to the next game now. Now that we heard, a little bit about Hades, next is Kingdom Hearts, which Paintbrush, suggested that should be discussed. So, feel free whenever you're ready to go on that.
Okay. All right. The only thing about this video game series I can think of at the moment, I've got plenty to talk about. It's just where to start. It's like, how do you introduce or talk about this game without it being like one on one? It's one of those video game series where it has this sense of wonder to it. Okay, the genre is like an action JRPG, which may be contradicting considering, aren't those two different things, right? But really, it 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 behaves almost like a Final Fantasy game, but you're given the option to move around in a 3D world. So it's like, I guess to some people maybe an action RPG. To me, it's an action JRPG because it's more inspired off of traditional JRPGs. Anyways, I'm going to talk about Kingdom Hearts 1 specifically since there's a lot of games and there's a lot of content that could be very confusing if I just jump right into it.
It's very fair.
Yeah. So like Kingdom Hearts 1, you play as this character named Sora. Um you start off sleeping in this world called Destiny Islands. And you don't know you're sleeping until you wake up because when you're sleeping, it's like this tutorial section of the game where it teaches you how to play, and you go into it. You're like, you get three, for example, there's like three options in front of you. You've got like a sword, a shield, and a wand, and those determine your stats. But you don't know that until you're told by someone who's a veteran, or like,
Mhm.
or you just are so observational, you're just not, you just like,
You're
you
just a
belong
god.
as god status. So yeah.
Yeah,
You're just a god.
I've seen a bit of the intro to that game. If you don't know what you're doing, it's confusing as hell.
Yeah, exactly. And something about Kingdom Hearts 1 that makes it good but also kind of flawful is its lack of direction or telling you what to do next. Like, cutscenes and text boxes are the only hints you have of where to go next. And after you wake up on the beach, you're on an island. This is like, Destiny Islands, hence the name. One of your friends wakes you up, and then you're kind of just chilling there, and you're like, okay, so we're building a raft, right? You just kind of ask yourself that, and you're walking around trying to find materials for it. No, to then only not use the raft at all in the game.
Yeah.
For no reason.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's just a
Bruh.
sense. I feel like that section of the game is one of the most filler parts of Kingdom Hearts, but it's also good in its moments for setting like the tone and like the scenery of like, oh hey, this is where Sora and his friends live. This is how peaceful things are. This is how repetitive things are. And everything changes that night when there's these creatures called Heartless that attack his world, and Riku, Kairi, and Sora. By the way, Riku and Kairi, those are his friends who live on the island with him. Uh,
Yes.
they all get split up, and like Sora doesn't know what the hell is happening the whole time. Of course, I've missed a few details already, but that doesn't really matter. Point is, you you kind of you get split up. You eventually fight this boss on this island that you fought in your dream that you had like the day before where you were sleeping, and you're like, oh wait, this does actually exist. You question yourself. You're like, what the hell? And you get sent to this world from this portal that the Heartless were coming from to attack yours, and you end up on a different world, and you're like, wait, what?
Wait a minute. Where am I?
And all of this happening at the same time, we'll make a sudden transition to fucking Disney Castle, okay? And there's Goofy, Donald, and Mickey's missing. Okay, he leaves a letter on his throne, and he's like, okay, stars are starting to go out in the sky. Okay, beware, basically. Find the key.
Beware, basically. I almost wish that's what it actually said. Basically, beware.
But yeah, like we have like completely normal anime boys and one girl. Waifu, by the way.
There it is.
Mixed with Disney characters, and their worlds collide when Sora travels accidentally to Traverse Town, and somehow Pluto ends up there licking his goddamn face when he's sleeping.
Somehow he just evaporates.
Pluto, I swear, Pluto
balls for whatever reason.
I think Pluto has the most plot holes in the Kingdom Hearts series because I think he randomly can just teleport. I swear, like
teleporting dog.
Sort of, yeah. Like Pluto ends up, I guess, on the same ship as Goofy and Donald, which had to travel to Traverse Town to find him, but they didn't know what or who they were looking for. They just heard find the key in Mickey's letter. And it ended up being coincidence that Donald and Goofy meet up with Sora in Traverse Town. So, and from there, you go from world to world, saving them, vanquishing the Heartless, using this Keyblade that pops into your hand back in Destiny Islands when you're fighting the boss. Man, I am all over the place right now.
You really are.
It's okay. The whole series is all over the place. Based on what I've seen of it,
it's something that isn't. It's something that shouldn't be told to one. It's really something that should just be experienced.
Yeah.
Because telling something like this, it's such a clusterfuck that you wouldn't want to play it if I just talked about it. So perhaps I didn't choose a great video game, but I wanted to let you guys know the emotions, the soundtrack, the characters, the cutscenes, it all hits so hard when it's your second time through. It still hits hard on your first time through, but you notice more, especially in the first game when you're playing it for a second time.
Yeah, we all know someone who every time they've played it, they get goosebumps at certain cutscenes and certain songs.
Yeah, like
we all know.
Something about Yoko Shimomura's soundtrack in any of the games really is emotional or unique.
Yeah.
Whether it be the repeating tracks in worlds or the ones that actually matter more in cutscenes. So, yeah, that is Kingdom Hearts at large is interesting because of its differentiality from so many other video games.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I picked it up, because I'm like, coming into it, I'm like, oh, hey, Disney characters who actually like talk seriously and they talk about stuff that's like life impending doom. It was interesting to me, and I'm like, I gotta play this. So I did, and I didn't end up regretting it at all. Kingdom Hearts, it's a meme.
Smartest.
It's got heart and it's got humor.
Yeah.
Which humor and meme, I guess, same difference, but still.
So, like, I have a question personally, because, like...
Yeah, I'm up for questions. I might make it easier on me.
Okay. So, I've seen some gameplay of the Kingdom Hearts games. Granted, the only gameplay I've seen is Birth by Sleep. At least I think that's the fucking game. I don't know. I think that's the one he's on right now. I don't remember. Anyways, I've seen a lot of like Birth by Sleep gameplay. It looks like there's so much happening at the same time to me.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Is it actually complicated on the controller? Because that's what I'm concerned about.
So on the controller, not really. Like it really only takes you. I mean, it might look complicated at first, but you know, everyone needs to learn their controls when they start a game.
That's true. I'm watching, like scrolling through the attacks and like going through and doing all these things at once, and it looks so complicated to me that I'm scared of it.
So, like, for example, you'll be starting off like a level or whatever. Music kicks in, your character's like, "Oh, better go over here," or whatever the hell, you know. And then basically, you're like, the game teaches you how to play right at the get go, and the combat helps you get into the flow even more when you face enemies. So it's like it's actually not that complicated.
Okay.
The only thing that's really complicated, I would say, is shortcuts for spells, which like is just like holding L1 down, for example, like on a PS4 controller, and then like if you hold L1 down to show your magic spells in your command menu, you just choose the shortcut that you chose for it, whether it be triangle, square, circle, or X, for that magic spell you assigned. It's like a hotkey on a keyboard.
Yeah, because like it looks like just a bunch of button mashing to me, but like I know that he knows what he's pushing. It just looked so random to me. That
the command menu makes things different. Like it makes the combat, in most of the games at least, like feel more organized.
Okay, so it's not as intimidating as it looks, because I'm looking so scared.
Like the way it shows when someone else is playing, it looks really complicated, but really your base attack button is X.
Okay, so it definitely just doesn't look as scary as he makes it. Okay.
No, not at all.
Just scary in general.
It becomes understandable once you understand how
what
you're equipping. Yeah.
So what would you rate the game, like 1 to 10?
KH1 for like just
basically, because that's what you talked about. Unless you want to go like based on the entire series, what you want to go with, but either or.
KH1 is honestly one of the weakest games in the series, but it's only because it's grown the worst. You gotta remember this game came out on the PS2 back in 2001. They still made a remaster, but the general like game itself did not change at all. Which is a good thing, really. They're being faithful to the original. But like Kingdom Hearts 1, based on like compared to the rest of the series, is like a growing pain. Like it's a very important game to play the rest of them, but just have a walkthrough along the way. Like that's why the internet's there. Like I had to use an internet for like the second half of the game because I'm like, okay, tired of getting irritated. I love this game, but I want to know what the hell's going on.
Yeah. I know that feel.
Yeah, it's kind of horrendous. I think that's the right word.
Yeah, horrendous.
But yeah, it's still a great game, and by the end of it, you'll be glad you played it. I would give it a solid 7.5 out of 10.
All right. So the next one, is Vampire, which I picked.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm interested in this one. If I've been like waiting for someone to talk about this because the way you were like talking about it a little bit prior to this podcast, I was interested.
All right, cool. Well, here we go. I'll get into it. Okay, so basically, what Vampire is, are you too familiar with the game Until Dawn at all? It's a game on the PlayStation.
Not me looking it up right now.
Style.
Because like it's kind of like that. It's that kind of a style of a game.
I think one that would be more commonly known is Telltale Games.
Yeah, there we go. That's the one I want. Yeah.
Oh, so, Telltale Games. I've only played one of their games.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not the greatest example, but
no, it's definitely not the greatest example. Like me personally, I love this fucking game. Anyways, continuing on. So Vampire takes place in 1918 in London, which if you guys aren't aware, history and whatnot, it's the Spanish flu era. Everyone's fucking got the Spanish flu. Speaking of, I let everyone in the fucking district die on accident. I'll explain to you how I managed to do that in a second. But basically, you play a character named Jonathan Reed, and Jonathan Reed is like a world-renowned doctor, and he goes to London, and he basically, you wake up, like how the beginning starts, it's this really long cutscene, if I remember correctly, and then like you wake up in a pile of dead bodies.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
And You're
Mass
a
grave.
vampire. Woo! Whoa, spoiler alert, because the game's definitely not called Vampire. Anyway, you're a vampire, but you're also a doctor. And, basically, you have, like, 3, bars, which is, your health, your stamina. The third one's your blood meter, which, I'll explain the technicalities of that as we get further into it. But, like, as you progress in the game, you're going to be given choices on, like, that actually matter to the plot. Like, it changes things. Like, I was given a decision with one character who was formerly a nurse at the hospital that I go to in London. And she was formerly a nurse there. And I was given, like, this choice that I couldn't go back on. Like, this was, like, a one-and-done thing. I can't go back and talk to her later and fix it. This was, like, okay, my choice actually matters to change the plot of the game. And you're given choices like that not as often, like it's not every single decision, but every once in a while that decision will come up, and what you choose will shift things in the game economically, physically, and like all these sort of things. I don't know if there's multiple endings. There most likely is multiple endings if there's different outcomes to things.
Probably.
But like, and I kind of want to play through it multiple times to get every single possible ending. But like, moving on from that, my own personal little thing going on here. You go through fighting, like, things like Skull, which, apparently in this game there's different kinds of vampires. Skull is basically, the special...
Lowest of the low.
Yeah, lowest of the low. They're kind of like the special, mutants.
Don't say special needs.
I wasn't gonna, but, like, special mutants there. Basically, these mutated, like, just fucked up vampires who, like, kind of went wrong.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I believe the in-game explanation of it is that essentially they were made, but their creators didn't care about them.
Yeah, something like that. I don't really remember all the technicalities of the game, but like in the game, like, you run around London, basically in different districts. Like, the main one that I work with now is not Pembroke, West Docks, because they're all fucking sick there. And basically, the health of all the characters that you interact with matter. Some of them will have things like sepsis, neuralgia was one of them, pneumonia, all these kind of different things. And as a doctor, you make medicine. So you have to literally go through, talk to all the characters, and keep giving them medicine until they're healthy to maintain the health of that area. Because what I did, I kept forgetting about that aspect of the game. That I kind of just accidentally allowed everyone to die of an illness because I kept forgetting to give them medicine.
Yep.
And basically what changes the whole thing about that is resting. There isn't really like a whole day-night cycle in that game. In order for it to go to a different night, you have to sleep. And before you sleep, you can level up your attacks, your health, your stamina, all that sort of good stuff. And then you go to sleep, long loading screen, and then boom, it's another night. And it gives you a playthrough of like everything that's changed in each district based on what you did before resting. Like, there's merchants in the game that you can buy weapons off of, materials, formulas and stuff to make more medicine. And depending on what you did with other characters, how you interacted with them, and what decisions you made, the prices change, how they act towards you somewhat changes, and you can basically learn about other characters through talking to certain characters. Like, if you talk to one character, you'll learn something about a complete different character somewhere else, and you can go talk to that character and, like, unlock new dialogue and new plot development and a bunch of side quests that you don't necessarily have to go on. But, they're nice because, they still somewhat help the main plot itself. And with, like, everywhere you go, you have to look carefully at everything, because I'll pick up, like, I picked up a text in Braille, like a Braille note, and that unlocked a side quest to go talk to a blind dude and help me get somewhere else in the game. So, like, you have to basically look everywhere. Yeah, what's up?
Is it a third-person or a first-person game?
It's a third-person game.
Okay, so, like... And, like, what is the gameplay? Like, can you move around? Like, is there barriers
essentially
in the box?
World.
Yeah, no, you can basically move around anywhere in London. I mean, you can't, like, jump into the water freely or anything, but, like, you can definitely run around different areas and go into different buildings. Not every single building is available to you, obviously, because not everything in London matters, but, like,
or not everything in London you can get into because people live there. I don't know.
Because people live there. It doesn't matter anyways. It's basically...
You'd say, but like there are some buildings that if
That
you
do
know the
matter.
right people, you can literally just walk in.
Yeah, no, you can walk in.
Just walks in.
Just fucking, hey, I'm here now.
Hey, how you going?
Without your consent.
But yeah, basically with the blood meter, what that is you can eat rats in this game. And I love how it tells you in the beginning of the game when you first load up the game that no rats were harmed in the making of this game.
Yes,
you can eat
I can
rats.
attest to this. That is a fact, and it is funny.
And basically, you can eat different things, and there's an attack called bite, so you can bite the enemies you interact with, and
You give them
their
the
blood to fill up your blood meter to do other attacks, because blood's required to do some of the attacks for some reason. I don't know, vampire things. And the type of vampire you are is called an Ekon or an Ekon. I don't really know how it's pronounced, but it's like
I believe it's Ekon.
Yeah, it might be Ekon. I don't remember what that specifically is, but it's like the same thing. You're just a normal vampire made by a maker, is what they call it.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
It's I believe just like the next step up from a skull.
Pretty much. Yeah, I think it's the next step of the skull. But yeah, as long as the game would seem like it seems like it's a long ass game. And admittedly, I've played it for a while. Granted, I stopped playing it for a while. It is a long game, but when you find things that help develop the plot and you interact with certain enemies, like I interacted with the sewer beast for the first time, and that was like, oh, okay, this game's cool again. And then like I got bored of it, and then it fluctuated in my opinion, but in the end, I still enjoyed the game because I really like games like that where my decisions matter. Because you guys know me, I'm very indecisive. So the fact that I have to actually make a decision is like a challenge for me.
That's like the fact that the developers like took the time to like make each tangible like tangent is kind of impressive because it shows you that they paid attention. Like, oh hey, if we do this first, then we have to change what this person says in this cutscene, or if we do this first, we have to think, oh hey. Pog, oh surprise, this happens.
Yeah.
Or now we have to go to the place we didn't go before.
Mm-hmm.
Or if this person has died from, someone neglecting them.
Sorry.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sorry, Whitechapel. Didn't you just end all of your lives?
Yeah, seriously.
But it's so funny because I noticed in the game as well, like after you rest and it gives you the showing of all the districts and like how their health changed and everything. I noticed that when I went back there after it would change, the district itself would look different. Like if they were worse in health, the entire place looked worse. And like if it looked better, it actually looked clean and nice. Like I went to Whitechapel after everyone fucking died. Everything's on fire. It looks like the apocalypse. But I was there last time I was there when they were all alive. It looked nasty as hell, but at least it wasn't on fucking fire. And it wasn't infected with skull because it was last time.
Skull.
I went through there.
Oh god.
Oh my god, it was bad going through all those skull. And basically, there's vampire hunters that are after you as well. But that's like a whole thing. So there's like a vampire/flu epidemic that you're just in the middle of. And how you get the most blood, like what fills up your blood meter the most is killing other citizens, which you can do with a thing called mesmerize, which is basically just mind controlling them. Like if you do find the whole side quest about the blind guy, you have to have a certain mesmerize level in order to literally, because at first you go up to him and he's like, no, go away, fuck you.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't trust you. And then like after you get to a certain mesmerize level, you can basically like brainwash him and be like, yo, let me in. And then he's like, oh, all right.
Which is kind of funny, considering generally speaking, mesmerization with vampires is usually done via eyes.
Yeah. Which is funny how you can mesmerize a blind guy.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, as long as the game it's definitely worth it for what it does give, because it does have a lot of potential for the game that it is.
That's very true.
I didn't know about it until I was looking at Amazon for a new Switch game, so I was looking for something new to play, and I was like, oh, I see this vampire game. That looks kind of cool. I bought it feeling really questionable at first, because I don't want to use the word picky, but I'm very, like, particular with the games I want to play. I normally hate storyline games because they have an end, and then after that, it's like, what am I supposed to do now? There's nothing more to do besides play the campaign again, right? But with this game, you know,
Which is
obviously
fair.
there's so much I can do that actually will change the ending of the game. That's probably why I want to play it over and over again, so I can try everything I possibly, you know, every possible scenario I can possibly think of to get different endings and see how the plot would develop differently if I pick something else. Like, I wish I can go back and change my answers to certain things that I'm not allowed to change my answers on, so I could see how that would have changed my entire game. Because I remember when Sarah and I played it side by side in a call,
Yeah.
we picked different things, and we both knew immediately after that our games were different.
Like the doctor that you were talking about specifically.
Yeah. Like, the game, like, our games branched off completely different paths after that. So now we're, like, kind of lost on where we are, where each other are.
Yeah.
Because the game branched off to different things.
Uh-huh.
So that's what makes it interesting, is that it's unique to everybody. Unless, you know, you purposefully pick the same thing your friend did so you can have the same exact playthrough. It's unique to everybody because everyone makes their own decisions and has their own opinions. That's why I know most about it. And talking about other people is like, oh, I picked different things than you did, therefore I can see how your game developed versus mine, therefore getting more of a conversation rather than us just copying each other.
Oh, yeah.
You know? But it's really good for what it is. I'd recommend it like a good 8.9 out of 10. And the only thing I have wrong with it is that when you sprint for a long duration of time, you get random loading screens because the game is so fucking fat.
Well, that
I didn't know
might
Vampire
also
was this
just
like
be
complex
the
or that
fact-
big.
Yeah.
That might also
And I'm
just
running
be
it
the
on my
fact.
Switch.
Yeah.
It's that, and it definitely runs. I think you can get on Steam, I think, if I remember correctly. Obviously, it's not just a Switch exclusive game, but I did get it for the Switch because I wanted more games for that console anyways. But, so it might just be a Switch issue, but, like, the sprinting constantly, because granted your normal movement pace, for me personally, gets way too slow in my eyes after a while. That's because, you know, I just want to hurry up and get shit done most of the time. So I want to sprint everywhere, but then it's like, yo, loading screen.
But here's the thing, though. If you did have sprint, that'd be the only thing you're using. So what's the point of walking?
That's true, yeah.
It's kind of like having a fast setting on a, like, hair blow dryer, for example.
Mm-hmm.
You don't use the slower one if there's a faster one.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, your speed was already, like, naturally your speed was already, like, a run/jog, and it would only force you to walk in important scenes that would lead up to a cutscene. Or, like, I remember having to go to a theater to fight an actress there. It made me walk past a certain point so I could hear her dialogue and be like, okay, where is that coming from? So that the game could progress so I can find out where she was. So, like, the game does make you walk at some points, but your speed normally is a run and you can sprint. But, like... Yeah, that's the only problem I have with it, the random loading screens. But other than that, it's a fantastic game that I see myself playing for quite more time.
That's cool. That's awesome.
Quite more time.
Quite more time, yeah.
Alright,
I'm down for that. Last minute changes. Oh, yeah. Just kidding.
Persona 5. I got Persona 5 a few months ago because I was bored. I knew nothing about the Persona series. And I am so glad that I didn't. Specifically because playing through the game blind with no knowledge, like, of anything, like, lore-wise previously was such a good experience. It is such a good game.
You know what's funny is you think it'd be the other way around.
Right?
No, yeah.
So glad.
The way I said that was a little bit...
I thought you were going to how much you hated this game after that. Like, I was like, oh, so he hates this game.
Yes, I hate it after giving it tons of praise in our game suggestion section and starting a new game plus profile. It is such a good game. The character interactions are so great. Like, if I remember correctly, the ending of the game actually genuinely made me cry. Like, it's beautiful. And it's not just that. It is just straight up an anime as a video game.
Oh, so like Kingdom Hearts.
Somewhat, but more so because it's originally Japanese.
Oh, I mean, like Kingdom Hearts 1 didn't come out in America first.
Now, you have a point, but
I'm just saying
it's
it's not
also-
completely.
it's also more specifically like an anime style.
Oh, okay.
Like
The art style for Kingdom
entire
Hearts
the
is
entire
definitely
art
anime.
style of the game is anime.
Gotcha.
Not to mention there's just straight up cutscenes that are just like you could put them into an anime and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Not to mention the combat style is really fun.
Persona 5.
know-
I feel like I've heard of
If you
this.
know Pokemon, which everybody should know Pokemon at this point.
It's definitely
Essentially,
got the anime style, yeah.
oh yeah. Essentially, the fights go each persona has its weakness and strengths. So you can essentially play to those weaknesses and those strengths. And it's just so good.
I feel like I've seen a cutscene for it, and it does look really interesting.
Oh no, yeah. Not to mention the soundtrack is amazing.
I love when video games have excellent soundtracks because I'll literally go on Spotify and find it, and I'll be like listening to it in the middle of a class.
That's
just-
what I
Oh,
did
no,
with
yeah.
Vampire. I love Vampire soundtrack so much. It's mainly violin based. Is what it
Oh,
is.
that's interesting.
Yeah, I should probably send you a song or two from the soundtrack because I've heard the Halo soundtrack enough times. But like,
Which one? Just the first game?
I don't remember. But like, I just know that I've heard Halo soundtracks.
Okay, all right.
But I should definitely send you, what I think you'll like of the Vampire soundtrack because in my opinion, it's a fabulous soundtrack. Like, I will listen to this on my free time because I enjoy it so much. I rarely do with video games. But
Yeah.
I love Vampire soundtrack.
Meanwhile, there's Persona over here. There's Vampire with its violins and Persona with its distorted bass that just sounds so good. Like, it's heavily distorted and
Interesting.
it just sounds so good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's just so many aspects of the game that I just love.
I could say that for Kingdom Hearts, but it would just take a while,
Oh no.
It would just take a fat while, like.
Like a fat moment, a dummy.
Fat
shit.
dump.
Yeah, but I
Dummy.
completely understand that. That's I have passion for video games like that.
Oh yeah.
That I might check that out too. Like, honestly, like Vampire, Persona 5, these already sound so interesting to me.
Yeah, and if you want, I can put a pause on my playthrough, and you can like look at the opening, like beginning of the game yourself with my game card if you want to. Whenever you are in the mood to play it.
Yeah.
If I don't finish it by then, so you don't waste your money on something you might hate.
Not to
enough
mention,
times.
there's 3 files.
Yeah. So like if you want, whenever you want to, start something new,
Okay.
sit down and try it, just let me
Yeah.
know. If
I'll
I
hit you
haven't
up at some point,
completed
yeah.
it. Yeah. If I haven't completed
Same
it
with
already,
me.
I'll
I've got
pause on
Persona
it.
5 on my PS4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Look at that. We get free GameFly because
Yeah, just game playing each
true.
other right now.
mutual game.
Same with Hades, although I have Hades as a digital copy.
Jeez.
Anyways,
But
Your
yeah,
personal rating on Persona 5. I never heard that.
honestly, I might just give it like a 10 out of 10. Just
I
because of
figured
how-
you would
10 out of
after you
10.
said the ending made you cry.
No, yeah, like it's beautiful. Not to mention, essentially, the entire game is, I guess you could consider it cognitive. It's a little bit of a mind fuck.
oh,
originally, like when you first like start discovering things in the game.
Not
Like
me going in the server and reading it in the game suggestions right now.
that is fair, actually. I was
like, just
thinking
pretend
about
this
that
everything.
as I was saying this because I'm just like, what exactly were the points that I made in there?
Well, I mean, if you want me to, I could just read you what you wrote here straight up. But like,
I'm fine with that.
for the description, you put, you play as a kid who has been wrongfully charged for assault, trying to fix his life. As you are going to school for your today, you meet Ryuji. Is that how you pronounce that?
Yes, Ryuji.
Yeah! And your adventure begins. The review you gave was just to start this off. This is an anime as a game, but it's so much more than that. Its combat is kind of like Pokemon. Its story is just the best. This is the first time I've cried over a game, and I honestly can't wait to start my new Game Plus profile. Please go play it.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And just as a side note to those of you who don't know, that was I made that post in our game suggestion section like immediately after I had finished the game.